The vast Galactic Council chamber was filled with beings from many worlds. Strange shapes, colors, and sizes surrounded a huge round table. They were the leaders of the galaxy, ruling over thousands of star systems. Today the mood was light. A report had just arrived from the edge of the galaxy, and it was hard to believe. The transmission showed only one ship, a small, old-fashioned craft from Earth. The council members laughed loudly. "One ship? That is all they dare send?" said the tallest of them. Another slapped his arm in amusement. The room echoed with their laughter. To them, Earth was a small, backward planet with little power. Sending only one ship was a joke. Far away, the human ship moved steadily through space. Its worn hull and slow engines looked weak compared to the huge alien warships. But inside the ship, Captain Sarah Khan stood quietly on the bridge. She was calm, her eyes fixed on the glowing screen showing their course. Her crew was tense but ready. They knew the galaxy did not take humans seriously. "Captain," said Lieutenant Ray, "the aliens are probably laughing right now. They think we will fail." Sarah smiled slightly. "Let them laugh. We have a mission. We must reach the Galactic Council's doorstep." Below deck, the engineers worked fast to keep the ship running. The engines were old but reliable. The ship was not built for war. It was built to survive. Sarah had one chance to prove humanity was not a joke. Back in the council chamber, a young alien advisor frowned. He did not join in the laughter. He looked at the ship with something like worry. "This is no ordinary ship," he said quietly. "They may be small, but they are not weak." The senior leaders ignored him. They had faced many threats before, and none were as unprepared as Earth. Their technology was far beyond anything humans could imagine. One ship could never reach them, let alone cause any harm. On Earth, the story was very different. News of the mission had filled every home. People watched as the one ship left the planet's orbit. They knew the odds were against them, but they believed in their captain and their cause. Sarah's crew was a mix of veterans and young cadets. Many had never left Earth before. Some had family waiting back home. Now they were venturing into unknown space, carrying Earth's only hope. The journey was slow. Days passed without contact. The ship's sensors searched the stars, watching for danger. When they reached the first checkpoint near the alien border, they sent a message. It was simple. "We come in peace." There was no answer. The silence was louder than any voice. Sarah's heart beat faster. She felt the weight of millions watching her through their small screens. She had to keep going. Suddenly, sensors picked up a large fleet moving toward them. The aliens had noticed. The council's laughter had stopped. The young advisor smiled, slightly. "It has begun," he whispered. The fleet surrounded the human ship, blocking its path. The captain received a new message. "Turn back. You are not welcome." Sarah looked at her crew. "We do not turn back. We continue." The fleet fired warning shots. Bright beams of light cut through space around them. The ship shook but held steady. Sarah made a decision. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We are not afraid." The humans moved fast, weaving between the enemy ships. Their old engines groaned under pressure. The aliens fired again, trying to capture or destroy the lone ship. But the humans had one advantage: surprise. The aliens expected a slow retreat, not bold defiance. The ship slipped through the blockade, heading toward the heart of alien space. Back on the council world, panic spread. How could one small ship get past their defenses? They ordered all fleets to chase and destroy the human intruder, but the ship disappeared from sensors. It was gone. Confused voices filled the chamber. The laughter was gone too. Instead, a quiet fear grew. Sarah knew the ship was in danger. The engines were failing. The next jump would be their last chance. The crew worked hard, fixing what they could outside. Stars blurred as the ship prepared to jump through hyperspace. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. Then silence. When the sensors came back, they showed a new system. The ship had arrived deep inside alien space, closer than anyone had expected. The council sat in silence. The joke was over. Sarah looked at the stars ahead. "We are here," she said softly. The stars stretched endlessly around the small human ship, floating quietly in a sea of light. The ship's sudden disappearance from the alien sensors had left many confused and uneasy. They had expected to find it easily, but now it was as if the ship had melted into the darkness of space. Inside the Galactic Council's command center, a deep silence replaced the earlier laughter. The great screens that usually showed reports and distant planets now blinked with question marks. The leaders leaned forward, their eyes fixed on the empty space where the ship once showed its path. "How can this be?" one of them asked quietly. "The humans should not be able to hide. Our technology is far too advanced." A quiet voice spoke from the back of the room. It was the young advisor who had warned before. "Perhaps they use something we do not understand. They are small but clever. Maybe they are not as simple as we thought." The senior members ignored him again. Their pride would not let them admit the possibility, but deep inside a seed of doubt had been planted. Meanwhile, aboard the human ship, the crew worked in tense silence. The ship was old and worn, but the people on board were determined. The engines had used more power than planned, and the ship's systems were not at their best. The next step was risky, but there was no turning back. Captain Sarah Khan stood at the front watching the stars pass by the window. She knew the journey was only just beginning. "We must move carefully," she told her crew. "If they are searching for us, we cannot make it easy." Below deck, Lieutenant Ray checked the ship's scanners again and again. There is nothing nearby. No signs of ships or signals. It is like we vanished. "But how?" asked a young engineer named Mina. "We didn't have any special cloaking device. We just flew fast and stayed quiet." Sarah smiled softly. "Sometimes, not being seen is about what you don't do, not what you do. We are small, and we keep to the shadows." Outside the ship, distant stars twinkled as if unaware of the small human craft moving between them. The galaxy was vast, and even the greatest fleets could lose a tiny ship if it was careful. Back in the alien worlds, rumors began to spread. Whispers filled the spaceports and trading hubs. Some spoke of the ghost ship that had passed unseen. Others said the humans had powers beyond technology. Stories grew with every telling, mixing fear with fascination. One merchant from a distant star system shared his view with others in a crowded tavern. "I heard the human ship is not just a machine. It carries the souls of their lost ones. It listens to the stars and speaks to the silence." Another laughed. "That's just stories for children. Humans are weak. One ship cannot do more than make noise." But a few listened quietly. The galaxy was full of surprises, and humans had already shown they were not simple. The Galactic Council held a secret meeting away from public eyes. The leaders argued about what to do next. Some wanted to increase the fleets and hunt the ship down. Others believed it was wiser to try to communicate. The debate grew heated, but no decision was made. In the meantime, the human ship moved closer to the first colony on the edge of alien space. This colony was small but important, a place for traders, travelers, and explorers to rest. Sarah knew this stop was dangerous. The colony was guarded, and the people there did not like strangers, especially not unknown ships from Earth. "We must be ready for anything," she told her crew. When they approached, the ship's sensors showed signs of activity on the colony, but all communication attempts were ignored. The colony's control tower sent no signals back. Sarah's heart beat faster. Something was wrong. The ship's small landing party prepared to investigate. They put on their suits and armed themselves. With tools for defense and repair, Sarah was the last to step onto the airlock. The airlock hissed open and the party stepped out onto the colony's dusty surface. The buildings were quiet, and the streets empty. It was as if the entire colony had vanished. Lieutenant Ray scanned the area. "No life signs, no broadcasts, it's too quiet." Mina shivered. "Where is everyone?" Sarah looked around carefully. "We need to find the control center. Maybe they can explain this silence." Inside the control building, the team found everything still running but unattended. Messages on the screens showed normal activity until hours ago, then nothing. Sudden beep startled them. An emergency message flashed on the screen. Warning, unknown ship near. Possible threat. Sarah's voice was steady. This means they saw us and are hiding or worse. Back on the ship, sensors detected movement far beyond the colony's borders. Something or someone was watching. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a distant sound, a low hum, steady and slow. It was not mechanical. It was something else. The team looked up. The sky was clear, but the stars seemed to flicker. Sarah's heart raced. The human ship was not alone. Something waited, patient and silent. Back on the Galactic Council's homeworld, the leaders watched the live feed from the colony with growing concern. Their confidence was shaken. The one human ship had become more than a joke. It was a mystery they could not solve. The young advisor smiled quietly. The game has changed. The quiet of space was suddenly broken by a flicker on the ship's sensors. It was a small, faint signal coming from the colony the humans had just left behind. Captain Sarah Khan stared at the screen, her eyes narrowing. The colony had been silent before, but now, something was trying to reach them. "We are not alone," Sarah said softly. Her voice was steady, but inside her mind raced. The silence that had followed their arrival was a warning. But this signal was a message. Someone, or something, was reaching out. The crew gathered around the console, watching the signal grow stronger. Lieutenant Ray adjusted the scanners to decode the message. What came through was strange. It was not any language the crew had seen before. The tones were soft, almost like music, but the pattern was clear. It was a call for help. Sarah knew they had to investigate. The galaxy was full of mysteries, and this was one they could not ignore. The ship changed course, moving toward the source of the signal. The stars outside blurred as the engines powered up. On the alien side, the Galactic Council was in turmoil. The one human ship had become a symbol of fear and curiosity. Some leaders wanted to send fleets to capture or destroy it. Others believed they should try to understand the humans' purpose. The young advisor continued to argue for patience, but his words often fell on deaf ears. As the human ship approached the signal source, the crew prepared for whatever they might find. The unknown was never easy, but they were trained for this. Sarah reminded them, "We are explorers. We carry the hopes of Earth. We must be strong and wise." When they arrived, the ship hovered above a dark, rocky planet. The signal came from a small settlement built into deep caves. The planet's surface was harsh, and the caves offered shelter to many who wanted to escape the dangers of open space. Sarah led a small team down to the planet's surface. The air was thin, but breathable. The team moved carefully through the tunnels, following the faint glow of the signal. Strange markings covered the walls, ancient symbols from a time long forgotten. At the heart of the caves, they found a group of beings, small, fragile creatures with wide eyes full of fear and hope. They looked different from any alien Sarah had seen. Their skin was pale, and they moved quickly but quietly. The creatures welcomed the humans with cautious smiles. Their leader, a gentle figure named Lyra, spoke in broken words that the ship's translator slowly turned into meaning. "Help. Lost. Darkness coming," she said. Sarah listened closely. The creatures explained that their homeworld had been attacked by a mysterious force. It was not the humans or the Galactic Council. It was something else, an ancient power that wanted to control the galaxy's secrets. The human crew shared their own stories of Earth and the mission. They promised to help the cave dwellers. Together they planned a way to warn the rest of the galaxy about this new threat. Back on the Galactic Council's homeworld, the news of the humans' discovery spread quickly. The leaders could no longer ignore the presence of this strange force. Some began to reconsider their view of humanity. Perhaps these small but determined beings had a purpose beyond their understanding. Sarah and her team returned to their ship, feeling both hope and worry. The galaxy was changing, and the humans were now part of its story in a way no one had expected. As the ship left the cave planet behind, Sarah looked out at the stars once more. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. The human ship drifted silently through the dark expanse, far from familiar stars and known paths. Captain Sarah Khan stood at the bridge, her eyes scanning the endless black, searching for answers hidden in the void. The recent encounter with the cave dwellers had opened new questions that demanded courage and wisdom. The galaxy was no longer just a place of distant stars and ancient politics. It had become a place where secrets waited to be uncovered, where shadows moved just beyond sight. Sarah felt the weight of her mission deepen. She was not just a captain. She was a messenger, a protector for Earth, and for those who could not speak for themselves. Inside the ship, the crew worked tirelessly. The engineers fixed small faults, the navigators plotted new courses, and the scientists studied the strange symbols recovered from the cave walls. Every day brought new discoveries and new challenges. Lieutenant Ray came to Sarah with a new report. "Captain, our scans detected unusual energy patterns near a star cluster not marked on any charts. It looks like an artificial signal, but different from anything we know." Sarah frowned. Could it be related to the ancient power the cave dwellers spoke of? It's possible. The energy readings are strong but hidden beneath natural cosmic noise. Whoever made this signal wanted to keep it secret. Sarah nodded. "Set course, we must see it for ourselves." As the ship moved closer, the stars around the cluster seemed to shimmer and shift. The energy was strange, almost alive. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and slow, but powerful enough to change the space around it. The crew felt the tension rise. This was not just another discovery. It was a warning. When they reached the center of the cluster, the ship's sensors revealed something incredible, a massive structure older than any star system in the galaxy. It floated silently, a relic from a time before recorded history. Its surface was smooth but cracked, covered with symbols like those from the cave, but far more complex. Sarah stood amazed. This is not just a structure. It's a message, a monument to something lost or forgotten. As they studied the relic, strange images flickered across their screens. Visions of stars being born and dying, of civilizations rising and falling. The symbols began to make sense. Stories of a great force that once held the galaxy in balance, a force now threatened by something darker. The ship's AI worked quickly to decode the symbols, but it was slow. The message was layered, full of hidden meanings and warnings. Suddenly, the ship's power flickered. The relic's energy affected their systems, but the crew held steady. Sarah's voice was calm, but firm. "Everyone, stay focused. We are close to something important." The ship's sensors picked up movement nearby, small ships emerging from the shadows around the relic. The humans watched as strange vessels circled the monument, guarding it carefully. These ships were unlike any the humans had seen before. Sleek, quiet, and mysterious. Sarah realized the galaxy was far more complex than she had imagined. The humans were no longer outsiders. They were players in a game played by forces beyond their understanding. The mysterious ship sent a message, not in words, but in feeling, a warning, a challenge, and perhaps a plea. Sarah decided to respond, sending a signal of peace and curiosity. The humans had come not to fight but to learn. The response was slow, but it came. The Guardians opened a channel, sharing images and symbols that told part of the ancient story. The relic was a key to the galaxy's past and its future. Sarah knew this was a turning point. Earth and humanity had a role to play, one that would test their courage, their wisdom, and their heart. As the ship prepared to leave, Sarah looked at her crew. "We are not just visitors in this galaxy. We belong here. Our journey is only beginning." The human ship glided through space with a quiet purpose. The relic's story had changed everything. Captain Sarah Khan felt a new sense of responsibility, weighing on her shoulders. This was not just about Earth or humans anymore. It was about the future of the entire galaxy. The crew worked in careful silence. They studied the images sent by the Guardians, stories of stars born from light, planets shaped by unseen hands, and civilizations that rose and fell over millions of years. It was a history of beauty and mystery, but also of caution. The ancient force that balanced the galaxy was fragile, and the darkness that threatened it was growing. Sarah stood before her crew. "We must find out what this darkness is," she said firmly. "We cannot wait for it to come to us. We have to be ready to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The ship changed course toward a distant system where strange energy had been detected. This was the last place the relic's message had pointed to, a place where hope and danger lived side by side. As they approached the system, the ship's sensors picked up unusual readings. The stars here were dim, the planets scarred. It was clear something powerful had passed through, leaving marks on the very fabric of space. Sarah ordered the ship to enter orbit around the largest planet. From there, they could scan the surface and search for signs of life. The crew gathered around the main screen as images appeared: vast deserts, deep canyons, and strange structures that looked abandoned but still held energy. The planet was quiet, but it was not empty. A small team was sent down to explore. Sarah chose Lieutenant Ray and scientist Mina to lead the mission. They moved carefully through the rocky terrain, their suits protecting them from the harsh atmosphere. As they reached one of the ancient structures, Mina's scanner began to beep rapidly. "There is a strong energy source inside," she said, eyes wide with excitement. The team entered the building, and the walls glowed softly with symbols. It was clear this was a place of knowledge and power. But something else was there, a presence that seemed to watch them. Suddenly, the walls shifted, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, a holographic figure appeared. It spoke in a calm voice, the words translated by the ship's AI. "Welcome, travelers. You seek the truth of the galaxy's balance. Know this: the darkness you fear is a force of change. It challenges all who wish to keep the old ways." The crew listened carefully. The figure told them of a cycle, times of light and shadow, of creation and destruction. The darkness was not evil, but a necessary part of the galaxy's life. It tested all beings, pushing them to grow or be lost. Sarah felt a deep understanding grow inside her. So this darkness is a challenge we must face, not just to survive, but to become stronger. The hologram nodded. "Yes, but beware. The challenge is great. Not all will choose the path of growth." Back on the ship, the crew discussed what they had learned. Some feared the darkness, others saw it as a chance. Sarah knew the truth was somewhere in between. Suddenly, a new signal appeared on their sensors, an SOS from a nearby colony. The message was urgent and filled with fear. The darkness was moving closer. Sarah made her decision. "We will help them. We cannot wait while others suffer." The ship raced toward the colony, faster than ever before. The stars blurred, and the hum of the engines filled the bridge. When they arrived, the colony was under threat. Not from armies or weapons, but from the creeping darkness that twisted the land and dimmed the sky. The people looked to the humans with hope. Sarah and her crew worked quickly to protect the colony. Using their knowledge and the relic's power, they created shields and guided the people to safety. The darkness tested them, but the humans stood firm. Their courage and unity were stronger than any fear. As the darkness receded, the colony cheered. Sarah looked at her crew and smiled. "This is just the beginning. The galaxy needs us." The stars outside the ship twinkled quietly, but inside the tension was thick. Captain Sarah Khan stood at the bridge, her hands gripping the rail as the ship moved through uncharted space. Every mission so far had revealed more mysteries and challenges than anyone could have imagined. Now, the final test was ahead. The ultimate moment that would decide humanity's place in the galaxy. The crew was ready, though nerves ran deep. The darkness they had been chasing was no longer distant. It had grown, spreading its influence like a shadow swallowing the light. Reports from other worlds told of strange changes, skies turning dim, energy fields weakening, and hope fading. Sarah called her team together. "We know what's coming. We've faced fear before, but this time it's different. This is not just a battle of strength, but of will. We must hold on to hope and to each other." The ship's sensors suddenly picked up a massive energy surge ahead, a pulse so strong it shook the very hull. The darkness was near, but instead of feeling fear, the crew felt a surge of determination. As the ship approached the source, they found an enormous rift in space itself. It was a tear, a hole where light struggled to shine through. The relic's energy was connected to this rift, and it was clear the fate of the galaxy was tied to what lay beyond. Sarah ordered the ship to move closer. The rift pulsed, sending waves of energy that disrupted their systems, but the crew remained focused. The ship was humanity's hope, a symbol of strength and unity. Suddenly, the ship was pulled toward the rift and everything went dark. When the lights came back, the crew found themselves in a strange, glowing realm. The stars were different here, colors swirling and shifting like liquid. Time seemed to move strangely and the air hummed with power. Sarah realized this was the heart of the ancient force, a place between worlds where light and darkness met. Here, the final challenge awaited. The holographic figure from before appeared again, its calm voice filling the room. "You have come far, humans. Now you must decide. Will you embrace the change the darkness brings or fight to preserve the old balance?" Sarah looked at her crew, seeing hope and fear in their eyes. She spoke clearly. "We will face this. Together. We will find a way that honors both light and shadow." The figure nodded and the realm shifted. The crew faced visions of the galaxy's future, worlds united in peace or lost to endless night. The choice was theirs. With courage, they stepped forward using their knowledge, compassion, and strength. They reached out across the rift, weaving together the ancient energy with their own human spirit. Slowly, the rift began to close. Light returned, shining brighter than before. The darkness did not disappear but changed. It became part of the galaxy's new balance, a force that would challenge and inspire all life. When the ship returned to normal space, the crew looked out at the stars with new understanding. They had not just survived, they had grown. Sarah smiled, knowing Earth and humanity had earned their place among the stars. The galaxy was wide, full of stories waiting to be told. And now, humans would be part of those stories, shining bright, like a new star in the vast sky. The journey was far from over, but this victory was theirs. Hope burned stronger than ever.